In 2020, piracy was officially declared dead. The war was over. Streaming had won decisively. Netflix cost just $8.99 a month. Everything you wanted was right there in one place. No sketchy torrent sites, no malware warnings, no technical headaches. Just click and watch. It was that simple. But then something absolutely impossible happened. By 2024, piracy exploded back to life like a zombie movie. Piracy website visits skyrocketed to 216 billion visits per year. That's not a typo. 216 billion. To put that in perspective, that's higher than piracy ever was before Netflix even existed. Higher than the peak of Napster, BitTorrent, or any previous era of digital piracy. The companies that killed piracy brought it back from the dead, and they did it by systematically betraying every single principle that made them successful in the first place. Today, 76% of young people actively pirate content while simultaneously paying for multiple streaming subscriptions. Modern piracy sites offer cleaner interfaces than Netflix itself. The streaming industry is staring down $13 billion in projected losses by 2027. How did billion-dollar companies with armies of consultants and market researchers commit financial suicide this spectacularly? How did they snatch defeat from the jaws of victory? Keep watching, because this story gets absolutely wild. It started with a simple tweet that went viral for all the wrong reasons. A Netflix subscription that cost $8.99 in 2019 now costs $15.49. But that screenshot was just the tip of the iceberg. Disney Plus launched in 2019 with a promise. Affordable family entertainment for just $6.99 per month, they said. Parents everywhere breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, a reasonable price for kids' content. Today, that same Disney Plus subscription costs $15.99. That's a 129% price increase in just 5 years. HBO Max started as the premium option at $14.99 for early adopters who wanted the best content library. Fair enough, you pay more, you get more. But their new Ultimate plan now costs $20.99. Nearly $21 a month for a single streaming service. That's more than many people spend on groceries in a week. The math is absolutely brutal. The average American household now spends $58 per month on streaming subscriptions. That's more than most people pay for car insurance. Let that sink in. Entertainment costs more than protecting a $20,000 vehicle. But here's where it gets really insane. You can't just pick one service anymore. The content you want is scattered across a dozen different platforms, like puzzle pieces. Want to watch The Office? That's Peacock, which costs $7.99 per month. Game of Thrones? HBO Max at $20.99. The Marvel shows? Disney Plus at $15.99. Stranger Things? Back to Netflix at $15.49. To get everything a typical family wants to watch, you need 6 or 7 different subscriptions. The monthly bill hits over $100 before you've even watched a single episode. Picture this scene playing out in millions of homes across America. Dad is scrolling through his phone, writing down subscription prices on a piece of paper. Mom is adding up the monthly costs on her calculator app, shaking her head in disbelief. The kids are asking why they can't watch the shows their friends are talking about at school. This is the exact moment streaming died. Right there at that kitchen table, when parents realized they were spending more on entertainment than they used to spend on cable TV. The very thing streaming was supposed to replace. We would love to have the margins that Netflix has, Disney CEO Bob Iger told investors during an earnings call. Translation: he wanted to squeeze every possible dollar out of customers, just like Netflix was doing. The companies that promised to liberate us from expensive cable TV became more expensive than cable TV ever was. But raising prices was just the beginning. What Netflix did next crossed a line no company had ever dared to cross before. They didn't just betray their customers, they betrayed their own publicly stated values. In 2017, Netflix sent out a tweet that became legendary. "Love is sharing a password." The tweet went viral instantly. Netflix looked cool, understanding, and refreshingly human. They got it. Families share accounts. College kids use their parents' login. That's not stealing, that's love. The internet erupted with heart emojis and grateful retweets. Finally, a company that understood how real families actually work. Netflix became the good guys, the company that didn't treat their customers like criminals for sharing with people they cared about. But internal documents later revealed a shocking truth. Even as Netflix was publicly celebrating password sharing, executives were privately discussing it as a revenue problem that needed to be solved. Back in 2019, while their social media team was posting heart emojis about sharing passwords, their boardroom was already plotting to destroy the very behavior they were celebrating. The plan was cynical and calculated. Let customers build sharing habits for years, then suddenly criminalize those same habits once you've cornered the market. Then came 2022, Netflix's nightmare year. The company lost 1 million subscribers in a single quarter. The first subscriber loss in Netflix's entire history as a public company. Stock prices collapsed overnight. Investors panicked. The board demanded immediate action. Netflix's solution? Betray their own customers with surgical precision. They claimed that 100 million households worldwide were stealing through password sharing. The exact same behavior they had celebrated with heart emojis and friendly tweets was suddenly reframed as theft. The messaging shifted overnight from "love is sharing" to "sharing is stealing." The password crackdown launched in 2023 with ruthless efficiency. If you tried to log in from a different location, Netflix demanded proof that you lived there. College students got locked out of their family accounts while studying at university. Parents traveling for work couldn't access their own subscriptions from hotel rooms. Want to share your account with your college-age kid who lives in a dorm? That'll be an extra $6.99 per month. The grandmother watching Netflix at her daughter's house during cancer treatments. Another $6.99 surcharge. Disney saw Netflix's success with the crackdown and immediately copied the playbook. Hulu followed suit. HBO Max joined the party. The entire streaming industry turned against password sharing overnight, like some kind of coordinated corporate conspiracy. Picture this heartbreaking scene. A college student comes home for winter break, excited to relax with her mom and watch their favorite show together. They settle onto the couch with popcorn, ready for some quality family time. The screen flashes an error message. This TV doesn't seem to be part of the household for this account. Her own family account was treating her like a suspicious criminal. The same account her family had been paying for faithfully every month was now policing them like a bank monitoring for fraud. The companies that built billion-dollar empires on convenience and human connection were now surveilling families like suspicious bank transactions. They turned every login into an interrogation. They made entertainment feel like a police state. This betrayal broke something fundamental between streaming services and their customers. Trust, once shattered, doesn't easily repair. But destroying customer relationships was just the warm-up act. What HBO did next shocked even industry veterans. HBO spent over $200 million creating Westworld, 4 seasons of premium television, Emmy nominations, critical acclaim, a flagship series that defined HBO's prestige brand and attracted millions of subscribers specifically for that show. Then Warner Bros.' Discovery deleted it completely, erased from existence like it never happened. The reason? To avoid paying residual royalties to the cast and crew who created the show. HBO would rather destroy their own masterpiece than pay the people who made it successful. They literally spent money to erase money they had already spent. But Westworld was just the beginning of what insiders started calling the content apocalypse. In February 2025, HBO Max removed 80 different shows in a single day. Subscribers woke up that morning to find their watch lists completely gutted. Shows they were halfway through watching had vanished overnight. Cartoon Network classics that defined entire childhoods disappeared without warning. Parents trying to share nostalgic cartoons with their own kids found empty pages where beloved series used to live. Decades of animation history deleted to save money on streaming costs. The industry developed a cruel new strategy called content impairment. Here's how it works. Remove shows from your platform, claim them as business losses on your taxes, and get massive write-offs. You get to destroy art and save money at the same time. It's the accountant's dream and an artist's nightmare. Disney joined the content destruction party with enthusiasm. Shows vanished from Disney Plus without explanation or warning. Series that families had been watching together simply disappeared mid-season, leaving viewers hanging forever. We continue to aggressively manage our cost base. Disney executives told investors with straight faces. Translation: we'll delete anything that costs us a penny in residual payments, even if customers are actively watching it. Picture this scene that played out in thousands of homes. A father and his 8-year-old son have made Tuesday night cartoon time their special tradition. They're halfway through a beloved animated series on Disney Plus. The boy has been looking forward to it all week. They grab their snacks, settle onto the couch, and pull up Disney Plus. Nothing. Just an empty slot where their shared experience used to be. "Dad, where did our show go?" the boy asks, genuinely confused. And the father has no answer because Disney decided his son's entertainment was worth less than their quarterly profit margins. They chose to break a child's heart rather than pay voice actors their contractual residuals. This is the absolute madness of content destruction. Companies spending hundreds of millions of dollars to create shows, then spending additional money to systematically erase them. While streaming services were deleting their own content and charging families extra for sharing, something fascinating was happening in the darker corners of the internet. The pirates were learning from streaming's mistakes, and they were building something better. Gone are the days of sketchy torrent sites loaded with malware and pop-up advertisements. Today's piracy platforms look like professionally designed streaming services that could compete directly with Netflix's user interface team. Sites like YTS and 1337X feature clean, minimalist designs with sleek search bars, perfectly organized movie poster grids, user ratings, professional reviews, and mobile responsive layouts that work flawlessly on phones and tablets. The design quality is honestly incredible. Click on any movie and it starts streaming instantly in high definition. No technical knowledge required, no complicated downloads, no waiting. Just like Netflix, except with every movie ever made available immediately. The search function actually works. Type in any show, no matter how obscure, and find it immediately. No content not available in your region nonsense. No geographic restrictions. No VPN required. Every show from every country available everywhere, instantly. Here's the most shocking part. The content never disappears. That childhood cartoon HBO deleted, still there in perfect quality. The canceled series Netflix removed, available in full, including episodes that were never released. Piracy sites became the internet's permanent library, while legal streaming services turned into revolving doors. But wait, it gets even more incredible. Illegal sites offer better customer service than legal ones. Let's say you want to watch a specific movie tonight. On Netflix, search not found. Check Disney Plus. Search still not available. Try HBO Max. Maybe it's there? Nope. Check Amazon Prime. Available for $4.99 rental on top of your existing subscription. On a piracy site, search click, watch in 4K resolution for free, instantly. No subscription management, no password sharing restrictions, no surprise price increases, no content vanishing mid-season, no geographic limitations. The Pirates kept every single promise that streaming services broke. While streaming executives focused obsessively on quarterly profit reports and password crackdowns, Pirates focused laser-like on user experience. Guess which approach customers preferred? While billion-dollar corporations were hiring consultants to figure out how to squeeze more money from families, anonymous programmers were building better entertainment platforms for free. The irony is absolutely devastating. The result was the largest digital migration in internet history. The numbers are absolutely staggering. There were 216.3 billion visits to piracy sites in 2024. That's more than the combined populations of every country on Earth. If every piracy site visit was a person, you'd have 27 times the entire population of planet Earth. To put this migration in perspective, imagine if every person in China, India, the United States, Indonesia, Brazil, Pakistan, Nigeria, Bangladesh, Russia, Mexico, Japan, Philippines, Ethiopia, Vietnam, Turkey, Iran, Germany, Thailand, the United Kingdom, and France all visited a piracy site. That still wouldn't equal the actual traffic these sites received. The exodus from legal streaming to piracy happened faster than anyone predicted. In 2020, piracy hit historic lows with just 130 billion visits. Streaming services were celebrating victory. Netflix executives were giving interviews about how they'd solved piracy forever. But by 2024, that number exploded to 216 billion visits, a 66% increase in just 4 years. That's not gradual customer dissatisfaction, that's a mass revolt. Generation Z led the rebellion with shocking statistics. 76% openly admit to pirating content while still paying for legitimate streaming subscriptions. They're not abandoning legal services completely. They're using both systems, legal and illegal, to get what they want. They'll pay for Netflix and still pirate movies that Netflix doesn't have. Half of all young people canceled at least one streaming subscription in the past 6 months. They're actively rebelling against an industry that treats them like criminals for sharing passwords with family members. Sweden provides a terrifying glimpse of the global scale. 25% of the entire Swedish population actively pirates content. In one of the world's wealthiest, most law-abiding countries, 1 in 4 people has given up on legal streaming entirely. If this is happening in Sweden, imagine what's happening in countries with less disposable income. The piracy surge isn't limited to movies and TV shows either. Manga piracy alone grew 347% between 2019 and 2024. Every type of content, every demographic, every country, it's a global phenomenon. A staggering 24% of all internet traffic in North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific goes to piracy sites. This isn't some niche underground activity anymore. This is mainstream behavior. 1 in 4 internet users in developed countries is actively pirating content. But here's what makes this migration completely different from the old Napster days of the early 2000s. 80% of modern piracy is streaming-based, not downloads. People aren't hoarding content on massive hard drives like digital pack rats. They're treating piracy sites like alternative Netflix platforms. Picture a global visualization of this customer rebellion. A world map lighting up in real time with piracy activity. Dots appearing every single second, millions per hour. A beautiful, terrifying visualization of customer dissatisfaction with an entire industry. Teenagers in Sweden, college students in California, families in Australia, parents in Germany, all making the same decision independently. Streaming services failed us, so we'll find alternatives. Industry analysts are finally starting to panic. Over 50% of Gen Z and millennials have canceled at least one streaming service in the last 6 months, noted Parks Associates. That's sending a very clear message to the industry. The message is brutally simple. Betray your customers systematically, and they'll abandon you in the millions. The financial consequences are about to get very, very real. Streaming services are projected to lose $13 billion by 2027, making this the most expensive business mistake in entertainment history. That number is so large it's almost impossible to comprehend. So let me put it in perspective. $13 billion is more than the entire annual GDP of countries like Morocco or Ecuador. It's enough money to fund NASA's entire budget for 4 years. It could build 26 brand new football stadiums. This isn't just a business setback. This is economic devastation on a national scale. The United States alone loses between $29.2 billion and $71 billion annually to digital piracy. That's the economic output of entire states vanishing into the digital void every single year. Disney's streaming division alone lost $387 million in just the fourth quarter of 2023, not for the entire year, for 3 months. That's $4.3 million lost every single day during that quarter. Warner Bros. Discovery posted a staggering $10 billion loss in the second quarter of 2024. These are real companies with real employees facing real consequences. The piracy resurgence has cost 70,000 American jobs every year. Sound engineers, video editors, screenwriters, production assistants, entire careers erased because customers fled to illegal alternatives. Behind every billion-dollar loss statistic are thousands of people losing their livelihoods. Stock prices tell the brutal story of investor panic. Disney shares plummeted after their first subscriber decline ever. Warner Bros. Discovery became a cautionary tale taught in business schools. Netflix's stock remains volatile as their growth engine finally stagnates after years of seemingly infinite expansion. Imagine the emergency boardroom meetings happening right now. Disney headquarters, executives in expensive suits staring at quarterly reports showing subscriber declines. Charts and graphs painting a picture of complete corporate failure. Bob Iger, realizing his aggressive price increase strategy, backfired catastrophically. The same scene is playing out at Warner Bros., Discovery, HBO, Paramount, and every other streaming company. Executives who thought customers had nowhere else to go are discovering that customers always have somewhere else to go. They just have to be pushed hard enough to find it. While there is some optimism that emerging countermeasures and best practices may see piracy begin to plateau by 2027, there is no consensus among stakeholders as to when it may begin to decline, admitted Steve Novi, a Parks Associates analyst. Translation: the industry has absolutely no idea how to fix this catastrophic mess they created. The Titanic comparison writes itself perfectly. Streaming executives, convinced of their own invincibility, steered directly into the iceberg of customer rebellion. They ignored every warning signal. They dismissed customer complaints as noise. They prioritized short-term profits over long-term sustainability. The damage is already done. The ship is taking on water faster than anyone can bail it out. The question now isn't whether streaming companies will survive. It's how many will still exist in 5 years. This is what happens when billion-dollar industries forget the most fundamental rule of business. The customer is always right. When you systematically betray the people who pay your bills, they'll find someone else to pay instead. So is streaming actually dead? Not yet, but it's definitely on life support. Today, the industry scrambles with desperate damage control measures, bundle deals that try to recreate the cable TV packages they once promised to replace, emergency price cuts that feel like too little, too late, corporate apologies that ring hollow after years of customer abuse. But the fundamental lesson here is beautifully simple. convenience and value always win in the end. When legal options become inconvenient and overpriced, customers will find alternatives, even if those alternatives exist in legal gray areas. When companies prioritize short-term quarterly profits over long-term customer satisfaction, they don't just lose customers, they accidentally create their own competition. The streaming industry literally trained millions of customers to become comfortable with piracy again. The streaming wars are officially over, but not how anyone expected. Netflix didn't win. Disney didn't win. HBO didn't win. The customers won. And their weapon of choice was the very piracy that streaming was supposed to eliminate forever. The most ironic part? If streaming services had just kept their original promises, reasonable prices, convenient access, and respect for customers, none of this would have happened. They created their own worst nightmare by betraying the values that made them successful. What happens next? Only time will tell whether streaming companies can rebuild the trust they systematically destroyed, whether they can lower prices without going bankrupt, whether they can create better user experiences than the pirates who learned from their mistakes. But one thing is absolutely certain. Customers have spoken with their wallets and their clicks. They've voted with 216 billion visits to piracy sites. They've canceled subscriptions by the millions. They've chosen alternatives that respect their intelligence and their budgets. The age of customer abuse disguised as premium content experiences is ending. Companies that learn this lesson might survive. Companies that don't will become cautionary tales in business schools for generations. What do you think? Have you canceled any streaming subscriptions lately? Are the prices getting out of control? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you found this corporate disaster story fascinating, wait until you see what we've got coming next. Click that subscribe button because you won't want to miss our next deep dive into how billion-dollar companies destroy themselves through sheer arrogance. Thanks for watching, and remember, in the battle between customer satisfaction and corporate greed, the customers always win eventually. It just takes time.